from raw metal. The bodies must be strong and the balance unfailing for the athletes to extract gold medal in a sport built on precision and scored on perfection. Those who have burned brightest have gone on to strike gold elsewhere. Mary Lou Retton, who set the standard in women's gymnastics. Only one woman in the last decade has successfully defended her title at the Nationals. Tracy Talavera did it back in 1982. Today, 15-year-old Kim Zmeskal will attempt the same feat. She took the title last year and is coached by the man who gave us Mary Lou and Nadia. Standing in Kim's way, her own teammate Kerri Strug at 13, the youngest competitor. Sandy Woolsey at 18, seen as the wise old veteran. And Kim Kelly, 17 years old and another contender for gold. They are all here today to decide who is the very best in America in the sport of gymnastics. Who will have the fire? And who will foretell the future in the 5 equal rings? NBC Sports presents Olympic Showcase on the road to Barcelona. Today at the Shoemaker Center on the campus of the University of Cincinnati, the very best in the country have gathered. And with the games in Barcelona a little more than a year away, many of today's top athletes will likely be the ones representing us in Spain. The women's all-around competition, the 1991 U.S. Gymnastics Championships. Hi, everybody. I'm John Tesh, and we're glad you're with us for our coverage of the finals of the women's all-around competition. Now, the big little story here in Cincinnati is 15-year-old, 4.5-foot tall Kim Zmeskal. Kim is our defending champion, and she's also the favorite to win here today. Now, early on, it was thought that Kim would be in a 1-to-1 battle with her teammate, Betty Aquino. Betty has been sidelined, however, with a stress fracture of her elbow and will not be here today. Oddly enough, Kim also enters this year's competition with an injury as well. And as I bring in my analyst, Olympic gold medalist Tim Daggett from 1984, Tim, this could be a factor, her wrist. We've seen her on ice all week.
That's right. She does come into this competition injured. You know, she's had this nagging problem with her wrist for the past couple of years, flared up right before the competition. And it's interesting to note here that she did miss quite a few days of training. Her coach, Bela Karolyi, who is usually a cheerleader on the sidelines saying only positive things about his athlete, was actually a little bit critical about some of Kim's preparation.
And what this does is open the door for the rest of the athletes here.
Well, I think Kim will probably be challenged today here by Kim Kelly from Parkettes and Sandy Woolsey from Arizona. These girls are veterans. They've been around the sport of gymnastics. They may not be the glamour girls of this sport, but they really feel they have something to prove here today.
All right, very quickly now, let's get an update on Kim Zmeskal's condition, the condition of her wrist, from Randy Hall, who's on the floor with her coach, Bela Karolyi.
Certainly, we all know she's a tough competitor. Will she be out there competing in pain today?
She will be in pain, no question about that. She was in pain yesterday. She will be in even bigger today. Optional is much harder than the compulsory is. But is a tough girl with a strong character, and I'm expecting from her, you know, to pull through this competition just like many, many other ones in the past.
And win it all.
I hope she's going to win it.
Yes, and despite the wrist injury, Kim Zmeskal is our leader as we enter the women's optionals, and Tim Daggett only 0.4 of a point separating her from 4th place.
And remember, 0.4 is less than a small fall from the balance beam or the bars, so it is anybody's game at this point.
The balance beam, the vault, floor exercise, and uneven bars, the disciplines in the women's all-around competition. And there's a look at our defending champion, Kim Zmeskal, warming up. And never far from her coaches, Bela Karolyi on the right and his wife Marta Karolyi on the left of your screen. And there's the woman in 2nd place, chasing Kim Zmeskal, 17-year-old Kim Kelly.
Less than 0.2 of a point out of the lead, and that is nothing at this point.
So at 4.5 feet tall, 82 pounds, our defending champion, Kim Zmeskal, will get set for her balance beam routine. Keep in mind, when you watch this routine, this piece of apparatus is 4 feet high, 4 inches wide.
And this really is a great event for Kim Zmeskal to start out on. With the wrist injury, balance beam is the least demanding on the wrist area.
Remember, Tim, when we sat down and talked to her just prior to the event, she showed up with an ice bag taped to her wrist, so it is bothering her.
Yeah, but she will not be feeling it while she's doing gymnastics. It's afterwards. The judges will be looking for acrobatic movements. They have to do a full turn on the balance beam, and they have to tumble. She'll show it to us right here. Her major pass on the beam, layout, step out. Wow.
This woman is so tough. Bella Karolyi said the fiercest competitor he had ever coached was Nadia Comaneci, and he said Kim is even stronger than that.
And they've had some strong words with each other. Bella Karolyi criticizing some of the preparation that Kim had before this competition.
In the short period of time that we've known Kim, we've found that she's not the type of athlete who will just listen to her coach and do exactly what he says. She has strong opinions, and they have been at odds many times.
Kim is just motoring her way through this balance beam routine. Beautiful gainer back layout step out there. Now that's interesting. That's a requirement. You have to go down to the beam in the exercise. Now watch this, the dismount. Ever important for all exercises, the double back.
Oh, a great routine from our defending champion, Kim Zmeskal.
That's how it's supposed to look like, a good routine. Good job.
Bella Karolyi, always the motivator. Let's take a look from above and watch her shoulders and hips, how perfectly square they are at all times during this difficult tumbling sequence.
The score for Kim Zmeskal coming up 9.80. So I don't think that the pressure has affected Kim Zmeskal at all. As you take a look at 18-year-old Sandy Woolsey, and her job now is to keep pace with Zmeskal. It will be difficult. Woolsey is next on the beam. Sandy Woolsey, third entering the women's optionals from Tempe, Arizona. And she's getting set for the balance beam just like Kim Zmeskal.
Now this may be not as comforting for Sandy to start out on the balance beam. She'll show us a completely different style from Kim Zmeskal. She's of course much older, more mature.
And she's taller as well. Is that a factor?
Oh, it certainly is. Makes some of the more acrobatic movements a little more difficult. And right there, she shows us her first balance problem in the exercise. Small deduction. Very nice tumbling sequence, though. Flip-flop to a punch layout.
Sandy tells us she wants to attend Stanford University following the Olympic Games and would like to study aerospace engineering. That really, Tim, should be no problem since she has an average in high school of almost 4.0. So she wants to be an astronaut.
Sandy, of course, from a rival camp of Bella Karolyi's, trains in Tempe, Arizona with the Desert Devils of Stormy Eaton.
It's interesting. We've seen almost bad blood between the rival camps, between the rival coaches, haven't we?
Well, it certainly starts to heat up when we get closer to that Olympic Games. Everybody is vying for those positions. Her dismount, a double back also. Oh, just a little bit of a step back there. Maybe not the start that Kim Zmeskal had, but on the balance beam, when it's your first event out, you certainly want to get through one without that major fall.
And there's Kim, who, along with Sandy Woolsey, will await the score. Doesn't seem to be very bothered about it. 9.65 for Sandy Woolsey. So given that 9.8 for Kim Zmeskal, we saw the deductions in Woolsey's routine. All right, let's move over to the vault now. And here is 17-year-old Kim Kelly. Keep in mind there are 4 performances going on at once here. That's why you hear the music in the background. That's from somebody's floor exercise. Kim is allowed, as all the athletes are, 2 vaults, and she'll be able to keep the best of the 2. 6 judges, they throw out the high and the low scores.
Critical to get off to a good start. Good push, great landing, wow.
And in gymnastics parlance, she stuck the landing, didn't she?
Boy, that is so critical, especially on the vault, where it's one trick, you've got to stick the landing. Now watch this, she'll do a round off, turn herself around on the board. An excellent push off, she's extended in the air, and this is critical, that landing.
So 9.825 on her first vaults. That'll be a tough one for her to beat.
Certainly will be. She'll perform the same vault again. The only thing she can improve on is maybe a little bit more explosive power off of the horse.
Oh, she'll keep the first score.
She certainly will. Nowhere near the vault that she performed on her first attempt. She won't even look back to see what the score was on that one.
So with her performance on the vault, the previous one actually, she keeps pace with our leader, Kim Zmeskal. Kim Kelly actually has a very good sense of humor. She said that she used a movie. She watched a movie to relax before this competition, Silence of the Lambs.